Listen, given the fact that Chelsea women just won the Women's Super League for the 6th year in a row, the title of this video seems a little crazy. Because it is. The team is aiming for the domestic double, already being 2/3 there with the League and League Cup, just missing the FA Cup. They have been by far the most dominant team in England this season. But the embarrassing 8-2 loss on aggregate to Barcelona in the Champions League semifinals in April was bad. Like, biblically bad. A pathetic performance which had Chelsea fans calling for certain players' heads, and not undeservingly. Why are you laughing right now? It feels like we get Chelsea vs Barcelona every year in the Women's Champions League, and it's tiring. Not because it's the same thing though. Yes, Barca have always come out victorious on aggregate, but Chelsea were getting better against them, even shocking them with a 1-0 win in Catalonia last season before folding 2-0 at home at Stamford Bridge. They just keep doing this to themselves, I guess. This year though, was not a step forward for Chelsea, but a massive step back. And now Chelsea has to watch their London rivals Arsenal play on the biggest stage in club football after they shocked Lyon in a comeback on aggregate. Montemurro is a disgrace. So what went wrong this year for Chelsea? Well, as usual, it's a combination of coaching, certain players, and injuries. Public service announcement before we get into this. I am going to be criticizing players in this video. This does not mean that I hate them or have hate in my heart. Their job is literally to be a professional footballer, and if you get defensive about criticism over a player, this video is not for you. Before I get into Chelsea, there is a simple fact that Barcelona were just better, obviously. Not in terms of just tactics though, but also player chemistry and the players themselves. Chelsea's best players like Guro Reiten and Sam Kerr were stuck on the sideline, and even then it may have not been enough. At the end of the day, Chelsea walked out with two, albeit talented, youngsters in the attack in Aggie Beever-Jones and Vika Captain, and Barca matched that with Patrick Guijarro and Caroline Graham-Hansen. Like, who are we kidding here? And out of form Walsh dealing with Aitana Bonmati and Alexia Putellas, it was over. But the loss shouldn't have been this bad. Two things can be true at once. It's not crazy to say that despite their wins, Chelsea have not been playing convincing football the past 2 months. Yes, they are still undefeated in England, but the wins haven't been smooth. They have had trouble finding the back of the net as efficiently as you would expect a team with their dominance. Since their FA Cup win over Everton on February 9th, Chelsea have only scored 3 or more goals in a match 3 times. A 3-1 win over Leicester in early March, the 3-0 comeback against Manchester City in the Champions League to win on aggregate, and a 4-0 rout of already relegated Crystal Palace. That's it. Chelsea have consistently struggled to just score 2 goals in 90 minutes, not what you would expect for a team leading the league. Now, a lot of this can be attributed to injury. You have Sam Kerr, Mia Fischel, Naomi Girma, and Lauren James struggling with injury. 3 months ago was also around the time Guro Reiten got sidelined with a back injury. She's only recently come back and has played pretty sparingly, and I don't know whether that's injury management or Bonpastor opting for other players over her for some reason. It's just a fact, Chelsea's offense runs better with Reiten. Obviously, Mayra Ramirez has been the club's main number 9 since Mia Fischel and Sam Kerr got injured, and is overall a great, number 9 to have. Unfortunately, it has been more frustrating with Chelsea than a smooth ride with her recently. Ramirez is amazing at making runs and forcing defenders off of her, but the problem is Ramirez pushes herself into the corners of the pitch instead of where she is needed, the box. Catarina Macario, when in form, can be a great option at number 9, but she has had high highs and low lows this season, which also can be attributed to injuries. Micah Hamano is just not being played by Bonpastor for some reason. Sandy Baltimore is being played at left back more than winger, and Johanna Rinkonnerud's form has fallen off a cliff since the start of this season. Yet, she keeps starting due to Reiten's injury. So, if you couldn't tell already, a big part of the problem resides with Bonpastor. She has to do better, which is a crazy thing to say considering she has Chelsea 12 points ahead of second place in her first season. We saw this at Olympique Lyon. Her club would do everything right domestically, even winning the Champions League under her in 2022, but there's a reason Lyon didn't fight to keep her. Tactics. Near the end of Bonpastor's Lyon tenure, when facing a club with better tactics like Barcelona, things didn't go so well for Lyon. It's hard to explain, but the best way to articulate it is that Bonpastor as a manager is pretty stubborn. She has favorite players and it's very clear. When Lyon lost in the Champions League final to Barcelona last season, instead of comforting her players, Bonpastor immediately started recruiting Barca's Lucy Bronze for Chelsea on the pitch after the game, a player she knew from Lyon. Never mind the fact that Chelsea already had a pretty stable situation at right back, Bronze had already pretty clearly lost a step. And as you can tell by the recent Champions League games, that has come back to haunt Bonpastor. She keeps opting for Bronze, who to be fair has had some good performances this year for Chelsea, but she keeps Bronze in the starting 11 even after disaster classes. After Chelsea got decimated 4-1 in their first fixture, with Bronze at fault for at least one of the goals, Sonia kept Lucy Bronze in the lineup for the reverse fixture. What? It's clear that Bronze is becoming somewhat of a liability on the defensive side of the ball. We know this because while she is a right back in the starting 11, she has started to play more of a center back role in terms of positioning, yet she still attacks pretty frequently. This does a huge disservice to whatever two center backs on the field, like Bright, Bjorn, or Germa, who then have to cover her. This also brings us to Bonpastor's January signing of Kira Walsh. Bluntly, Walsh has not settled in at Chelsea with her role. As a defensive midfielder, her main roles are obviously to defend and deliver good and creative passes. Walsh has done neither. I do think Walsh will get better, but fans have already turned on her after she was seen laughing with Barcelona players after getting embarrassed. In short, she played like someone who was already guaranteed a medal in the Champions League if Barcelona won. Oh wait, Chelsea fans paid God knows how much money to see Chelsea turn over on their backs in Barcelona, only to see these two chuckleheads laughing with their former club that just killed them. The fans deserve better than this. Bonpastor then threw Germa to the Wolves against Barca. Let's not forget, Germa is coming back from injury and is nowhere near 100%, which sucks for Chelsea because it would have been nice to have their $1 million signing fully available. Bonpastor should not have subbed on Germa when they were down this bad. It was making a bad situation worse and really set her up. So, you are 4-1 down on aggregate. What did Bonpastor do to the lineup to potentially adjust? Almost nothing. While there were some good changes, like putting Sjoeke Nuskin and Niamh Charles on the field, the only two players that played well in the second leg, Walsh and Bronze somehow kept their starting spot. Mind you, they played god-awful in Catalonia. Wrighton, who was used as a sub last game, didn't even touch the field. Their best player did not touch the field. Tactically though, over the two legs, it seemed Bonpastor set the tactics up like Chelsea were on an equal playing field with Barcelona, which they were not. You can see in the games where Barcelona potentially lose, it's when their opponent is on a strict defend then counterattack. Chelsea cannot play the ball like they do in the Women's Super League, but they still tried to, and it didn't work. Worse, the connection between the attacking players just wasn't there. Again, injuries can be blamed, but the players didn't show much effort. This isn't just a player issue though, as interestingly, they weren't going in for many tackles. Since all of them were doing this, it seems like Bonpastor told them to try and not stick in. I'm not a football manager. That's horrible advice against this Barcelona team. Why? It lets Barca play the way they want to. And that's deadly. Emma Hayes understood that to have a chance against this Barca team, you have to rely on Chelsea being the more physically imposing team. This gives you a chance to have things potentially go your way. Bonpastor shied away from that though, despite the Chelsea players not fitting the roles she wants them to play. While it is true that Bonpastor is not playing to her players' strengths, the players were also just not making good decisions on where to go with the football and missed key chances by themselves. In sum, Chelsea's offense needs to find its bite again, and Bonpastor needs to rethink her defense for next year. She really put Sanji Baltimore at left back, defending against Carolyn Graham-Hansen. Mind you, Chelsea have an actual kind of left back that can defend better. A rotation of Germa, Bright, and Bjorn can be really good at the center back position, but you really have to figure out the scheme and connection between whatever to start. And obviously at fullback, Ashley Lawrence should be starting on the right with Niamh Charles on the left. Back to the offense though, while Aggie Beaver-Jones and Myra Ramirez are good for Chelsea, there needs to be someone in the offense like Gura Wrighton who can build up the offensive play. Hamano is a play builder like Wrighton, but she didn't play in this fixture really. So what? If Bonpastor remains stubborn and plays favorites, Chelsea may be in trouble in intercontinental competition. If Wrighton is getting passed over for other wingers, that's a huge problem. Bonpastor does prefer faster players in the wing, which is obviously not Wrighton's game, and it is why Bonpastor signed Baltimore. But the best managers take the players they have and find a way to work that into the system, not force them out or into roles they're not fit for. What do you think went wrong, and do you think Chelsea can turn it around next year? Let me know in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed the video.